Thank you indeed for talking to us. Were you surprised by the announcement this morning?
I think everybody was surprised by the announcement this morning. Nobody quite expected it, although it was very clear over the last few weeks that the Pope's health was beginning to weaken. There's a picture of him taken just 2 days ago going to the Roman seminary, and he was getting out of the car and you could see his movement was very restricted.
I mean, we saw the last
and also
Pope,
if
I was going to say we saw the last Pope struggle on to his final few days, really with very severe ill health, and Pope Benedict clearly has decided that that's not something he's prepared to do.
I think there were two very different people. Pope John Paul, because his illness came very early on in his pontificate, he decided he had to live with illness. And he felt that there was a certain witness in living with illness to show other people. And actually, many people were impressed by his death and the way he faced death. Pope Benedict is a much more reserved person. And I think he feels very clearly that his health was coming. Interesting were the comments of his brother, who is, clearly has seen that Pope Benedict his health was seriously failing, and he felt it would be in the best interest of the Church at this stage to make a clear decision about resignation. It's very clear his words this morning, stressing very much that, and this is important actually from a juridical point of view, that this was clearly his own free decision, not under duress from anybody, which is an important thing about the resignation of a pope. And I think he wanted to do that now while he was very...
Yeah, sorry, I was going to ask you about his impact on the Church in Ireland. I mean, I suppose most notably he ordered that visitation to the Irish Church in the aftermath of the sex abuse scandals. How do you assess his impact on the Irish Church?
I think he has had a deep interest in the Irish Church. I remember meeting him before I came back to Dublin when I was in Switzerland. He came there and we went out. And he had a clear interest in the Irish Church. On my first ad limina visit, he asked me very clear questions about, actually questions that the Irish Church should be asking itself, about the relationship between the Church and Irish society and Irish culture. And these were the areas where he excelled when he reflected on those. When you look at his visit to the United Kingdom 2 years ago, initially there was a lot of reaction saying that this would be a disaster, he shouldn't come. When he came, he was able, the numbers who came to his gatherings, the way he interacted with people, he was able to speak to both houses of Parliament about the fundamental questions about the role of faith in society. I think these are the questions that the Irish Church needs to be asking in a deeper way. Now, he did address very clearly the question of child sexual abuse. Immediately after the publication of the Ryan report, he asked Cardinal Brady and I to go there. And he was, and I think I said it clearly at the time, he was visibly upset at some of the stories that appeared on that occasion. And particularly after the Murphy report, again, he stressed very clearly, not just to the Church in Ireland, but that the Church around the world should address this. And he said to me personally, he said, this should never have happened in the Church of Jesus Christ.
There will now be a new Pope, there will be a successor. What do you think is the key challenge facing whoever occupies that role, and what kind of person do you think would be most fitted to take on that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to, would not want to get in any way to speculation about who might be the new Pope, because that very often, a lot will depend on the 3 weeks, which are the 2 to 3 weeks that will follow the actual resignation. That's when the cardinal voters will come together, will get to know one another, will talk day by day at these meetings they have about the situation of the Church and how to respond. I think, but they will come back again to the fundamental questions about what faith means in today's world. Not so much about the details of of church structures. Yes, certainly that. But I believe there'd be, one of the great achievements of this Pope was that he wrote 3 books, 3 substantially researched books on who Jesus Christ was, to try and enter into dialogue with people about what that means in today's life. And I think that these will be the questions. They'll be looking. They won't be looking at the church in Ireland. They'll be looking at the church worldwide, the problems the church faces in the different continents, the challenges that the church faces in the different continents. And if you look at the history of papal elections, the cardinals, even if they're all appointed by the Pope, who is the outgoing Pope, they never clone or try to replace, to elect a similar Pope. Very often they decide to go something quite different.
All right. Well, we shall see. Dr. Martin, thank you indeed for talking to us.